Hello, Grace Community Church. Pastor Steve here, continuing our journey cover to cover through the Bible. And today is March 29, and we're looking at the very end of Joshua 19, and then the chapter 20, and then we're skipping over to 1 Chronicles chapter 6. And the reason why the chronological Bible does that is because that section covers a very similar area. It's sort of a parallel section. The first thing I want you to take a note of at the end of chapter 19 is that it's time for Joshua, the commander, the leader, to receive his own inheritance. And what is noteworthy, he waits for everyone else to get their inheritance first, and then he gets his as they come into the land. I think that's a great quality of a good leader, to look out for others before looking out for one's self. The section then turns to cities of refuge. Now, for those of you who've been following cover to cover, you've seen this written in the law. The idea is that each tribe would have a designated city that if somebody committed a crime and there are people who want this person dead, there are cities that they could go to in which they would be protected until their case is adjudicated. And with that in mind, it provides a level of fairness and justice. I mean, just to give you an example, if a crime was done in Boulder City to a resident of Boulder City, there is little chance that person may get a fair hearing in that town. And so let's say the refuge city or city of refuge was Reno. Well, nobody there will even have heard of the crime, and it's probably high value that would be a place where justice could be seen just on the merits, not based on news stories. And so that's the idea of a city of refuge. So these cities of refuge were designated. Now, when it came to designated different sections, you hear this phrase come up several times: casting of sacred lots. Now, we in Vegas should appreciate what is a lot. Well, it's gambling, we would say. But what is a sacred lot? What I have on the screen here is an example of the Urim and Thummim. These are two stones, and we think one was probably white, one was probably black. These have the actual Hebrew words on it that I just gave you. And the idea is that the priest would keep it in his priestly garment called the ephod, and they would ask yes or no questions. And if the black came out, it would be no. If the white came out stone, it would be yes. And so they would ask these questions using these sacred lots or sacred stones to get the answer. So that is what we think is going on when you say using sacred lots. Now in chapter 20, verse 45, there is this beautiful phrase: they've done conquering the land, and they have rest on every side. Rest on every side. Now here is a picture of the tribes of Israel. I know you can't see it too well where you are, but I want to point out, I like this map because it's lots of bright colors. So there's Judah, there's Simeon, completely surrounded by Judah, Ephraim, Dan, Manasseh, there's two sides of Manasseh, so on and so forth. This is the land. Now, what is interesting, they have rest on every side, and God says that his promises were fulfilled. Same verse, chapter 20, verse 45. But if you look at this map, they never got this area over here of Philistia. And there are other areas that were never fully grabbed, but are actually shown in color on this map. So if all of God's promises were fulfilled, but they actually didn't acquire everything that they were aiming for, then how can we say that all of God's promises were fulfilled? It comes down to this: all of God's promises that were pursued, that were in faith moved upon, were achieved. But those in which nobody claimed the promise, they were not achieved. That is a lesson for you and I. because God does make promises, but are we brave enough to believe him on that and to move forward accordingly? Very great passage, profound in many ways to read that. Well, we will see you tomorrow as we continue our journey cover to cover. God bless you.